So I'm going to go out on a limb here based on information I've gathered over the years, and this is a topic you're going to learn that is my specialty. And the reason it's my specialty is because I haven't always had a good self-image. And so I'm probably one of the best people to teach this course. But 85, I'm going to say 85% of most people do not have a good self-image. And the reason that becomes so important as the foundation of success, some of you have heard me give this talk this next 5 minutes, and some of you haven't. So for those of you that have heard me give it, just enjoy it the second time. But when you start to build something, and what we're going to build on here over these next, I suspect I can get this entire boot camp done in 4 more modules. We're going to do, the next module is going to be nothing about self-image and everything about raising your financial IQ. I'm going to cover things that you guys are going to go, I never even heard of that. So that's going to be exciting. Then the third module, we're going to cover the new entity and new structures. And no, it's not a secret. A lot of people have emailed me and said, why is it a secret? It's not a secret. It's that I want to be the first person to teach you everything you know about it before you go out and scour the internet. And the reason why is because somebody in the public taking advantage of this entity is not the same as somebody taking advantage of this entity that just got a huge windfall. And so I would rather than see you spend 20 hours investigating it from the perspective that 99% of the people using this come from, I want you to learn about it coming from the perspective of, oh, I just got $2 million. I just got $7 million. I just got $10 million. So it's not a secret. It's just that I want to reveal and teach you about it, what I think is most important for you. And then after that, you can go learn anything you want to learn. So it's not a secret. That'll be in the third module. The fourth module is probably going to be all about taxation. All about taxation. And then the last and final module is going to be about taking your new entity and learning how to invest with that entity, learning how to put that money to work for yourself while you're still earning interest on it instead of paying interest on it. Isn't that interesting? So I think when you go to build anything, this is what I was starting to say, I think that you have to have a foundation. And I always use this example when I'm talking to folks. Now, the questions I'm going to ask you, this is just to get started. First question, just type the answer, yes or no. You don't have to give an explanation, none of that. I just need a show of hands. This is basically us in a classroom, show of hands. Is your house an asset? Yes or no? Okay, that's about 70-30. And someone says, yes, it's paid for. Good for you. So it's about 70-30, people saying yes, 70%, 30% no. Is your savings account an asset? That's about 80-20, yes. So you can see, well, let me ask a couple more questions. Is your 401k an asset, or maybe your Roth IRA? Is that an asset? Wow, that's about 90% yes. Not sure it will be in the future. Good answer. Last question. And we're going to get started. If you owned a rent house, a rental house, is your rental house an asset? That is like 97% yes. All right, so as we back up a little bit, we had 70% yes that your house, your personal house, is an asset. So 30% of the people are a little more educated right there. Your house is not an asset. I know you've been taught that your whole life, but at the same time, you've also been taught that food is bad. And because of that, your clothes keep getting bigger and bigger. uneducate yourself that you're this was a chart that we put together months ago. We put the area here where we felt like the Bitcoin might stop and keep going. Then we put the second area where we had a smaller percent that we would go there. And then we've had a poke out the bottom and back up. On the 14th of October, I posted a video called looks like a breakout coming probably the last week of October. Something of that nature is what I called it. It was posted on October the 14th. I qualify this as a breakout. And I do want to show you on a smaller chart on the hourly. This has come back down currently inside of our trend line. So this is what I would consider a retest. Let's pull it on a 4 hour. It might work a little better that way. There we go. I think to get a real bona fide breakout, like yesterday was exciting and all the above, but to get a real bona fide breakout, we've really got to hold this line, the top side of this line. Let me pull it over this way. So we've got to hold this line and then have some follow through. In my opinion, we had a 1 up, a 2 over. And 2, by the way, was pretty simple. So I would expect this ABC correction we're doing right now, I would expect that to be pretty complex, meaning it's going to take, if 2 took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 4-hour candles, then I would think we're going to be at least 18 to 25 candles. So maybe nothing till Monday to even look for a follow through. So anyway, moving on here. Another thing would be, and I kind of put this under the same banner of liquidity, is to be able to control your investment, right? To be able to know that it's not locked up behind a whole bunch of penalties, early withdrawals, all that stuff. So to be able to control that a little bit better. We're still talking about the attributes of a perfect investment. Now, how about to have your investment transferable to someone else, like we were just talking a minute ago? All that's in play. Easy to manage, so a real easy learning curve. All that's in play here. How about no hidden fees or penalties? Ever. No hidden fees or penalties, ever. Ever. That's pretty cool. And very little fees, by the way, on top of that. Your net is your net after fees. So when I say that this past year their guarantee was 7%, that was their guarantee after the fees. Their money grew by 7%. It's pretty cool. And let's go with reputable. I think when you start looking at some of these companies, and we won't talk company names today, I can come back after today and share some of that with you. And by the way, while there's the most people I've seen in here yet today are here, let me say this as a housekeeping item as well. I am going to do a special session with you guys, probably it would be a midweek session. It'd probably be in the evening. And I'm going to share with you guys company names that you can go out and do tons of your own research. These companies are 200 years old. These companies are they are custodian to some of the largest amounts of money on planet Earth. Okay, so I want to give you guys those names of some of those companies. Also, when this module's over, I'm going to airdrop you guys a boatload of information. I have actually held off on the airdrops leading into this module like we did the first two, because I wasn't trying to give it away, and a few of you guys had actually smart enough and seen enough in your lifetime, you already kind of guessed it. But you probably never looked at it from the perspective of windfall money, and that's a totally different animal. When I show you this from a windfall perspective, you're going to get very excited. So reputation is important, but we have that with companies that were actually in place before they even wrote the tax code 106 years ago. Now, here's a big one. How about this? How about private? How about being able to do this privately, right? Not out there in the public eye. It's completely private. You know, the perfect investment, it would be reputable, but it would also be private, meaning that your tax person wouldn't be getting a bunch of 1099s every year on you. You follow me? So that kind of gives you a list of a whole number of things that, in my opinion, create the perfect investment. Let's go, while we're talking about the electric vehicle, before we go to Q&A, let's go through one more model here. How about a 100 unit apartment complex? You borrow the money from yourself. Now, I want to tell you something. I don't find this model to be unbelievably profitable, okay? But it's pretty good, okay? So on a 100 unit complex, the average going price is $10 million. You've got an average of $1,200 per unit per month. So you've got a payment coming in on those 100 units. You've got a $120,000 a month payment coming into you. You've got a $42,000 a month mortgage back to your IBC program because you borrowed the money, okay? That leaves a whole lot of money left over, but you still have to figure probably another $40,000 a month in overhead because somebody has to be there. You're going to have a manager. You're going to have a couple of employees. You're going to have maintenance, on and on and on. But let's just say you can do that for $40,000 a month, and that leaves you a $38,000 a month income off of that, and that leaves you a $456,000 a year cash flow a year for your $10 million. Now, mind you, there's somebody else paying off the $10 million. I'm grabbing your attention because I want you to get this part. When you have any working model where you have employees, the way you create a good employee is you give them something they can't get anywhere else. Right now, what's the one thing people cannot get when they go to work for a company? Companies do not take care of their employees anymore. They're not setting them up any retirement. They're not doing any of that. They're going, oh, well, just keep paying into Social Security. You'll be fine. Companies 30 years ago, they used to set up unbelievable retirement packages. Well, do you guys remember the example I gave you about the banks hiring a bank executive, taking out an IBC contract on that bank executive, and then down the road that IBC product pays that bank executive a one-time, out payment of $750,000, and then down the road that person passes away, and when they pass away, the people who own the policy get paid back all the money they ever paid that person, not just the $750,000, but all their salary and everything comes back to them in the death benefit. So think about this. Every one of these working models, you can take out an IBC contract and have your own bank running on that person. We'll give you her warning. Here was her warning. Her warning to me was, she said, Jay, she said, first things first. She said, do not. If you have figured out ways to pay less tax or no tax at all, and she said there are lots of ways to do that. She said there are holes in the system everywhere, and they're there by design. I told you guys before that the way the tax system was originally set up is it was set for the really rich corporations and the wealthy to pay the predominant amount of tax and the small guys to pay almost nothing. And then over time, it's gotten flip-flopped. And now the wealthy corporations, just like the Amazons of the world, they pay no tax. They pay zero tax. You know, you've heard me say it before. Trump sat out there on national television, and when he was blamed for, you don't have a tax return, you don't know, why don't you show your tax returns? You don't pay any tax. He doesn't pay any taxes. And he would just pipe up and go, well, that's because I'm smart. And so again, the system is now designed and it's been flip-flopped, and it's due to regulators and lawmakers, to where the wealthy and the big corporations can pay no tax. And the little guy out there working for a wage, out there running a small business, he's going to pay a lot of tax. For about 9 years, I'm going to tell you a couple stories and some things that he learned. And I'm going to do my best from recollection, from everything he told me, to tell it to you just the way it happened. And I'm going to give you guys a lot of tips that he shared with me. What you do with the tips is your business. I'm not a tax advisor. I'm not an attorney. I can't advise you today, okay? But you want to look into this. Yeah. We love your friends. You guys have become my friends too. It's just friends from a distance. It's a little different than what you would want, but in 2019, that's just the way it is. So here's the deal. My friend did not file any tax returns for about 8 or 9 years. And finally, one day, he gets a letter and they say, you got to file your tax returns. Long story short, he never does. They file the returns for him. They sent him a bill and said, you owe $480-something thousand. He still didn't even budge on that. He threw that in the trash, he tells me. And then he got his bank account levied for I think he told me $84,000. Now, along the lines of that levy, a couple things you should know if you weren't in the trust class. These are a couple things you should know. If the IRS ever does levy your bank account, just know that Congress gives them the right to levy a bank account only once. Only once. So that bank account, that specific account at that bank can never be levied again.